Sometimes, a single moment can rewrite years of loneliness. Sometimes, the love you've been waiting for doesn't walk in holding flowers, it walks in holding two tiny hands, covered in rain and innocence. And on one forgotten Tuesday night, that's exactly what happened to Claire. Rain drifted against the cafe windows like a whisper only the lonely could hear. Claire sat by herself, tracing circles on a cup that had gone cold. The chair across from her was still empty. Every tick of the clock sounded like a tiny goodbye. She checked her phone again. Nothing. 58 minutes. That's how long hope had lasted tonight. She took a breath that felt heavier than it should. Maybe love just isn't for me, she murmured. The door opened suddenly, a gust of cold air following. Two little girls hurried inside, pink jackets dripping with rain. They looked around the cafe until one pointed straight at her. "Miss Claire?" the smaller one asked. Claire blinked. "Yes." The older twin stepped closer, clutching a folded napkin. "Daddy's sorry he's late." Every sound in the cafe faded. Claire slowly unfolded the napkin. The handwriting was rushed but gentle. "Traffic jam. Please don't leave. You're my first date in 5 years." She looked up, heart trembling. The girl smiled shyly. "He said you'd be wearing blue," one whispered. "He said you smile like sunshine." Claire laughed through the ache in her chest. "How do you two know so much about me?" "Daddy told us," the smaller twin said proudly. "He said good people are worth waiting for." Before she could answer, the door opened again. A man stepped in, soaked, tie crooked, eyes full of apologies. He stopped when he saw them. "I'm Adam," he said quietly. "And I'm sorry." He knelt beside his daughters. "I told you I'd make it." They giggled, running to him. The cafe watched as if time had paused for this small miracle. Claire's voice was barely a whisper. "You sent your daughters to save your date." Adam smiled, nervous. "They didn't give me a choice. They said if I didn't go, I'd regret it forever." Claire smiled for the first time that night. And just like that, the emptiness of waiting turned into something almost holy. Sometimes, love doesn't arrive on time. Sometimes it walks in late, dripping with rain, holding two tiny hands that remind you the best things in life don't come early, they come when your heart is finally ready to receive them. The rain softened outside, falling now in quiet threads of silver light. Claire watched as Adam brushed water from his jacket, eyes flickering between her and his daughters. He looked nothing like the confident man his messages had promised. He looked real. "I'm so sorry," he said again, voice trembling between nerves and honesty. "I had to pick them up. Their babysitter canceled last minute." He laughed awkwardly. "They told me to hurry so I wouldn't lose the nice lady from the internet." Claire smiled despite herself. "Well, I'm glad they convinced you." The twins slid into the booth beside their father, wide-eyed and curious. Claire felt something shift inside her, not romance yet, but something gentler. Something like trust. They ordered hot chocolate for the girls and coffee for themselves. the warmth of the mugs rose, so did their conversation. Adam talked about his life, how he'd lost his wife to an accident 4 years ago. How every day since, he'd learned to braid hair, pack lunches, and tell bedtime stories he once thought were silly. And how tonight was the first time he'd tried to move on. Claire listened quietly, her own eyes glimmering in the cafe's soft light. She told him about her own heartbreak, the engagement that ended without a reason, the loneliness that never truly left. Two people, both tired of being brave alone. The twins began to giggle over whipped cream mustaches. For the first time that evening, Claire's laughter sounded like healing. When the cafe lights dimmed near closing time, Adam stood. "I should get them home," he said. "But, if you ever want to try again, maybe without the babysitter drama." Claire smiled, warmth flooding her chest. "I'd like that." The girls waved from the door. "Bye, Miss Claire. Daddy says thank you for waiting." As they disappeared into the drizzle, Claire stayed seated, her heart strangely full. It wasn't love at first sight, it was something rarer. It was hope that didn't feel like a gamble anymore. Days passed. Then a week. One rainy Thursday, her phone buzzed. Same cafe. 7 p.m. "This time, I'll be early." She smiled, shaking her head. When she arrived, Adam was already there, hair neat, jacket dry, and two little girls coloring on napkins beside him. They saw her first and both shouted, "Miss Claire." The cafe turned to look. Adam just grinned. "I told them you'd come," he said softly. She sat down, her heart steady for the first time in years. Outside, the rain began again, but it didn't sound sad anymore. It sounded like a song finally finding its rhythm. That night, as laughter filled the space that once held silence, Claire realized something simple and profound. The right people never rush into your life. They arrive late, sometimes lost, often tired, but always just in time. And somewhere between coffee cups and crayons, between apologies and second chances, the empty chair that haunted her heart was finally filled. Because sometimes, the most beautiful beginnings start with being patient enough to wait for the ones who are still finding their way home. And if you're listening to this tonight, wondering why love always skips you, remember Claire. Her story didn't start with perfection. It started with waiting, and with two little girls who showed her that miracles don't always come dressed as love stories. Sometimes, they come disguised as second chances. So don't lose faith in timing. The universe is never late, it's just preparing the ending that will finally make sense of everything you've been through.